No one taught you how women actually love. They gave you fairy tales, told you to be nice, told you to always be available, told you she'll love you if you just treat her right. And yet, she ghosted you. She said you're too much. She said she needed space. She said, "You're such a nice guy," as she ran into the arms of a man who doesn't even text her back. You sat there confused, angry, broken, trying to figure out what you did wrong. The answer? You played a game you didn't even know existed. But this video changes that. This video is the moment your entire reality shatters. And when the dust settles, you will never look at women the same way again. If you value truth more than comfort, if you want results, not theories, if you want to stop being confused and start being in control, then keep watching. And if this message hits deep, support the channel. Because every time you do, you help make these insights reach more men who desperately need it. We're building something bigger. We're building clarity. We're building strength. We're building men who no longer play blind. Comment: no more illusions, if you're ready to watch this video till the end. Number 1. Women feel, not think. Women operate through emotion, not logic. And this changes everything you thought you knew about how to navigate attraction, relationships, and love. And once you understand this, you can stop being confused, frustrated, and ignored, and start living in complete control of how women respond to you emotionally, psychologically, and biologically. Because attraction is not a checklist of your job title, your gym body, or how often you say, "I'm here for you." It's a chemical chain reaction. It's biology doing what it's been designed to do for thousands of years, and the man who masters this isn't the one who tries harder. He's the one who triggers the right emotions, and everything she feels about you, whether it's lust, obsession, anxiety, admiration, or safety, is created not by what you say, but how you make her feel when you say it. And if she's not feeling it, she's forgetting you. And this is why men who do everything right on paper, being there for her, buying her gifts, texting good morning and good night, always checking in, always agreeing, are constantly ignored, friend-zoned, or dumped, while men who create emotional turbulence, unpredictability, mystery, and even a little chaos become the ones she can't stop thinking about, even if they don't treat her with half the kindness. Because love is emotional warfare, not logical diplomacy. And if you don't know how to speak to her emotions, you're speaking a language she doesn't hear, so stop trying to earn her with logic. Start creating impact with feeling. And here's how. First, understand that emotions come from contrast. If you're always sweet, always kind, always the same, her brain adjusts, her heart flattens out, and her attraction dies. So you need to create highs and lows, not by being abusive, not by being cold, but by being dynamic, by being emotionally intelligent and unpredictable in ways that trigger adrenaline, dopamine, curiosity, and tension. Like pulling back your attention when you sense she's starting to get too comfortable, or showing strength and disagreement when she tries to test your frame, or leading in moments where she expects you to seek her permission, or walking away calmly when she's expecting you to fight for validation. And when she senses that you're not swayed by her beauty, not controlled by her moods, not desperate for her attention, her brain starts firing all sorts of emotional triggers. She wonders, she guesses, she imagines, she fantasizes. And this is where attraction lives, because if she's not thinking about you when you're not there, she's not attached. And you don't build that kind of attachment with good behavior. You build it with emotional imprinting, which means creating feelings that are so powerful and memorable that they leave a psychological stamp. And to do this in practice, you need to balance 3 emotional elements: tension, release, and mystery. Tension keeps her wondering where she stands, release keeps her from walking away, and mystery keeps her obsessed with discovering more. And you do this by being 80% grounded, calm, stoic energy that leads the moment, and 20% unpredictable charm that catches her off guard and reminds her that she's dealing with a man who doesn't need her validation to feel powerful. And if you want real, practical tactics, then you need to stop texting her when she hasn't earned your attention. Don't double text. Don't explain why you were busy. Don't instantly reply to her messages unless she's showing emotional investment, because the more she has to wait, wonder, and work for your energy, the more she values it. And this is backed by behavioral psychology. Humans value what is scarce, not what is abundant. So if you want to be unforgettable, you have to be limited, not needy. And one of the best ways to apply this in dating is to mirror her investment. If she's giving you short replies, you don't try to fill the silence with extra effort. You go even colder. You let the space breathe. Because in that space, she's either going to realize she doesn't care, or she's going to start feeling anxious. And that anxiety turns into curiosity, and curiosity turns into emotional activation. And emotional activation is the root of romantic obsession. And if she's chasing you in her mind, you've already won. And when you get that first date or that deeper interaction, you don't play it safe by talking about your job, your pets, or your weekend. You pull her into a narrative, ask questions that hit her subconscious, like, what's something no one's ever understood about you? Or, have you ever had a moment where you didn't feel like yourself and didn't know why? These questions bypass logic and dive into her emotional reality. And once she opens up, once she shares, emotionally, you validate the emotion, not the logic. You say, that must have felt like a storm you couldn't explain, instead of, yeah, I get that. And you'll watch her eyes light up because someone finally feels her. And now you're not just a man, you're an experience, you're a mirror. And women don't fall in love with men. They fall in love with how they feel when they're around them. So if you're applying this and thinking long-term, relationships must become a dynamic of polarity. She leans emotional, you lean logical, but not cold logic, embodied logic, meaning you hold frame when she's testing you. You say no without guilt. You don't react when she's emotional. You stay grounded and calm. And that makes her feel safe even when she's unsure of herself, because safety isn't about making her comfortable. It's about showing her that you can't be shaken. And that's where Stoicism becomes your secret weapon. Because a Stoic man doesn't just stay silent. He stays centered. He doesn't just react less. He responds better. He doesn't chase approval. He radiates certainty. And when you do this, you create a psychological fortress where her emotions can play, break, run wild, and always come back to your strength. And in long-term relationships, this means you don't argue for power. You guide with principles. You let her feel everything without letting it steer the ship. And when she cries or lashes out or plays emotional games, you don't collapse. You don't yell. You don't plead. You observe. You stay calm. And when she cools off, she looks at you like the anchor she's been searching for her entire life, because women don't want to lead emotionally. They want to feel led. They want to surrender to a man who is bigger than their chaos. And every time you break under pressure, every time you beg, every time you explain, every time you emotionally react, you tell her you can't hold her storm, and she will lose respect. And the moment respect dies, attraction dies with it. So stop being soft, start being sharp. Stop apologizing for having standards, start leading with them. And most importantly, stop trying to win her love with effort, start building her obsession with emotional mastery. Because love isn't about being worthy, it's about being felt. And when she feels you deeper than anyone else, you become unforgettable, untouchable, and irreplaceable. Number 2. They crave mystery. Mystery is not an act. It is not a mask you wear temporarily, and it is not some trick to appear interesting for 5 minutes. Mystery is a way of moving through the world that makes people, especially women, lean in closer instead of pulling away. And when it comes to attraction, women do not chase clarity. They chase curiosity. And the problem most men face is they lay everything out too early. They show their cards. They tell their life story. They reveal their intentions. And they become fully predictable within days, which kills the emotional tension that fuels desire, because what most men fail to understand is that mystery is not about hiding who you are. It's about never allowing someone to feel like they fully own your energy. And if you are the type of man who texts her 10 times a day, who replies instantly, who never leaves a little silence between interactions, who gives compliments constantly without balance, you've already made yourself boring in her emotional system, because her mind only stays engaged when she doesn't know what you're thinking, when she's guessing where she stands, when she senses there's more beneath the surface. And this is not game playing, it's biological strategy, because a woman's attraction system is wired to value emotional risk. It's not the stable, predictable rhythm that makes her feel obsessed. It's the psychological spikes, the mystery, the moments of unpredictability, and the mental chase that create an addictive loop in her mind. So if you want to become unforgettable, you must become harder to emotionally decode, and the way you do that practically is by mastering control of your presence and pacing. You don't give her full access to your thoughts, your time, your energy, or your emotional availability right away. You let her discover pieces of you slowly, unpredictably, and with subtle shifts in intensity that keep her emotionally stimulated and slightly off balance. Not insecure, but intrigued, because predictability is death to desire. And women are wired for stimulation through curiosity. So let her wonder. Let her ask questions you don't fully answer. Let her feel like every time she sees you, there's something new to discover. And one of the most powerful ways to implement this is through emotional timing. Sometimes you share something deep, then pull back and become playful again. Other times you go quiet for a day, and when she reaches out, you're grounded and present. But you don't explain where you were or why you didn't text, and you never chase to recover momentum, because emotional presence is more powerful than consistency. And the man who controls the pace controls the emotional dynamic, and what this looks like in relationships is you maintaining your focus on your own purpose, your schedule, your priorities, and never collapsing your world around her validation. Even when you really like her, even when you want to be close, you hold your line, and that restraint makes her respect you, because women don't fall in love with men who are always available. They fall in love with the man who is present when he's there, but still makes her work to earn his full energy. And mystery can also be expressed in how you talk, because if you reveal your full emotional blueprint too early, if you say, "I've never felt this way about anyone," in week 2. If you label everything, define everything, and seek emotional clarity constantly, she will feel like the story has already reached its end. But if you allow space, let your words be fewer and your presence more powerful. Speak with intentionality and not validation-seeking. Ask deep, reflective questions and share only enough to provoke thought, but not to unload your full past. Now you become a man whose mind she wants to explore, and that exploration keeps her invested. And yes, this can feel unnatural for men raised to believe vulnerability is always about full emotional expression. But in truth, what women want is depth, not exposure. They want to feel like there's more to discover, and that takes internal discipline and emotional self-control, which Stoicism teaches in spades. Because the Stoic man doesn't speak to be heard. He speaks when it's necessary. He doesn't open up for approval. He opens up with direction, and his mystery doesn't come from hiding. It comes from having such a deep world within him that no one can ever fully see it all. And practically this means not explaining your every move, not justifying yourself when she's emotional, not trying to win her back with excessive gestures, not panicking when she pulls away. You stay grounded, you stay silent, you stay focused, and you let her feel the gravity of your absence. And that gravity creates space for her mind to imagine, to feel, to return. And in dating, this means you don't make plans every weekend. You let her wonder what you're doing. You don't chase after disagreements. You let her emotions rise and fall without trying to fix them. And when she tests you with emotional games or indirect communication, you respond slowly, calmly, or not at all, because the man who reacts less holds more power. And that emotional power, that ability to remain unreadable yet safe, unpredictable yet grounded, is what creates long-term obsession. So if you want to be the man she talks about to her friends, the one she thinks about late at night, the one she can't figure out but can't walk away from, you need to stop being so available, so transparent, so emotionally reactive, and start being the man who offers less words and more experience, less explanation and more presence, less chasing and more magnetic silence, because women fall in love with the energy they feel around you, not the logic you feed them, and that energy must remain elusive, powerful, and untouchable in parts, or she will label you, define you, and emotionally release you, because once she can fully describe you, she's already closed your chapter in her mind, and mystery is what keeps her reopening the book, again and again, wondering what page she missed, what secret you're still holding, what depth you haven't revealed. And that emotional hunt is not manipulation. It's what keeps love alive. It's what keeps polarity sharp. And the men who get this stop being confused about attraction and start becoming the kind of man women orbit around without knowing why. And that's not about pickup lines or alpha energy or trying to be some fantasy. It's about embodying silence, unpredictability, and emotional direction. So, if you're listening to this and you want to shift how women respond to you forever, start by mastering your presence. Manage your availability like a limited resource. Lead conversations that pull emotions instead of facts. Never explain yourself unless it creates more curiosity. And hold your inner world as something sacred, not something to be dumped out for quick connection, because the more she works to understand you, the more she invests. And the more she invests, the deeper her feelings go. And the deeper they go, the more she ties you to meaning in her life. And that's how mystery becomes the foundation of powerful attraction. Not by faking who you are, but by revealing who you are slowly, intentionally, and with the kind of confidence that makes her know she's never seen all of you, and she never will. Number 3. Chasing kills chemistry. Chasing a woman doesn't build attraction, it destroys it. Not because pursuing someone you care about is wrong in itself, but because chasing, in the way most men do it, is the act of lowering yourself to prove worth, of constantly giving energy without receiving it, of trying to fill silence with validation. And this sends one signal loud and clear to her psychology, that you are beneath her emotionally, and no matter how well you treat her, how kind you are, how often you show up, the emotional scale is tilted and her biology responds by killing desire. Because chemistry between a man and a woman is built on tension, polarity, and emotional exchange, not desperate reassurance. And every time you chase when she's pulling away, you're killing the very possibility of her wanting to come back. Because desire does not grow in certainty, it grows in space. And the psychology behind this is deeply rooted in survival and reward patterns. We value what we perceive as scarce, and we take for granted what we always have access to. And when you chase her, blow up her phone, over-compliment her, beg to see her, drop plans to accommodate her, or try to fix every emotional shift she goes through, you're telling her that your value is dependent on her approval. And that kills polarity, because women are attracted to strength, not submission, and emotional leadership, not emotional begging. So if you want to stop being seen as disposable and start being the one she craves, you must stop the chase completely. And this isn't just about not texting first or pretending to be busy. This is about transforming how you value yourself internally and showing that value through your behavior without ever needing to explain it. And practically, that means you do not initiate more than she does. You do not give more attention than she returns. You don't show up more than she shows effort. And when she pulls away, you don't chase her. You let her go, not out of spite, but because you understand that your energy is not free to those who don't respect it. And if she wants to reconnect, it must come from her realizing the weight of your absence, not you trying to force presence where it isn't invited. And when you feel that pull to reach out again, to ask if everything's okay, to tell her how much she means to you when she's gone cold, you stop, you breathe, and you remind yourself that your emotions are yours to manage, not hers to fix. And that brings us back to Stoicism, because a Stoic man leads himself first, which means he doesn't respond emotionally to rejection, silence, or inconsistency. Instead, he recognizes that how a woman moves around him is a reflection of where he stands in her emotional value system, and rather than trying to manipulate that perception with more effort, he respects it by giving space. Because if a woman is meant to stay, she will close that distance on her own. But if you fill every gap with your effort, you're not giving her the emotional space she needs to miss you, to crave you, to choose you freely. And freedom of choice is where real attachment is born, not from obligation, not from constant attention, but from her realizing she wants to come back to you on her own. And the way to make this happen is by mastering your response to her shifts. When she texts back slowly, you don't text faster to overcompensate, you mirror or move slower. When she stops calling, you don't start calling more. You reduce the emotional investment to match her effort. When she gives mixed signals, you don't try to decode them. You take a step back and let her decide how she wants to engage. And the key to doing all this without resentment is owning your emotional self-respect and recognizing that attraction is a dance, not a chase. And every time you overstep her lead with more giving, more effort, more intensity, you stop being a partner and become a pursuer. And pursuers don't get chosen, they get used. And if you've ever been in a situation where she told you you're too much, you're too available, you're too nice, what she was really saying was, you made it too easy for her to take you for granted, and women cannot fall in love with men they pity or feel emotionally above. They fall in love with men they admire, respect, and sense are in control of themselves. And that means if she pulls away and you disappear without a word, not to punish but to realign, she will feel it. Silence will echo, the absence will speak. And if she has real emotional connection, she will start to reach back. And when she does, your job is not to flood her with the same old chasing behavior, but to recalibrate the connection with new standards. You move slower, you respond less emotionally, you let her invest first, and you make her earn access to your attention again, not to play games, but to restore balance, because the man who never chases is the man who always has options, and the man who always has options is the man women fight to keep. And if you want to build this level of emotional power, it starts with living a life where your schedule is full, your focus is your mission, your identity is not built around how she responds, and your value does not fluctuate based on female attention. And this is where Stoicism becomes non-negotiable, because chasing is a reactive behavior born from emotional weakness, and a Stoic man is not reactive, he is intentional, which means when she doesn't reply, he doesn't spiral. He gets back to his goals. When she ghosts, he doesn't chase closure. He creates new connections. When she loses interest, he doesn't collapse. He reclaims his time, and this creates an unshakable presence that she feels when she's with you and when she's away. And the more she feels it, the more she respects it, and the more she respects it, the more she aligns her behavior with keeping it, which means chasing is replaced with leading, And leading doesn't mean forcing the relationship. It means setting the emotional tone and letting her follow it by choice. And if she doesn't, you don't try to convince her. You let her go, because a woman who doesn't match your energy isn't losing you. She's freeing up your space for someone who will, and that kind of mindset is what separates men who get walked on from men who get chosen, not once, but again and again, because they never beg to be kept. They only accept what is aligned with their standard, and every time they're tested, they lean into their center, not her emotion. Because that center, that calm, focused, purpose-driven emotional state, is what keeps women coming back and keeps men in control, not of her, but of themselves. And that control is everything, because when you own your frame, your presence, your purpose, and your emotional response, you become the source of value in the dynamic, not the seeker of it. And that, more than any tactic, any line, or any chase, is what makes you magnetic. And if you want to stop losing women to emotional inconsistency, to lack of respect, to attraction that fades without warning, then you must stop chasing, not just in action, but in spirit. You stop needing her to respond. You stop needing her to choose you, and you start walking with the mindset that if she doesn't, someone better will. And if you truly believe that, you'll stop giving your time to women who don't reciprocate. You'll stop lowering your standard to make things work. And you'll start building chemistry the only way it lasts, through self-respect, emotional strength, and the quiet confidence of a man who knows he doesn't chase because he doesn't need to. Number 4, she's drawn to calm power. Women don't want emotional chaos. They want to feel something deeper than words. And the truth is, she isn't pulled toward loud energy. She's magnetized by calm dominance, the kind that doesn't need to speak to command presence, the kind that walks into a room and shifts the emotional air without raising a voice, without flexing status, without chasing attention. Because calm power is the ultimate signal of masculine security. And in a world where most men are reactive, uncertain, easily rattled, and constantly seeking approval, the man who stays grounded becomes rare and unforgettable. And this isn't about being stoic in the fake, robotic sense of shutting down emotions. It's about having full control of your internal world, to the point that no mood, no test, no rejection, and no woman's emotional swings can pull you out of alignment. Because every woman, consciously or not, is scanning your emotional responses every second. Testing to see if you can hold space. Testing if your energy collapses under pressure. Testing if you need her validation to feel powerful. And the moment she feels like you do, she starts losing respect. And when respect fades, attraction dies. And this is where most men lose without even realizing it. Not in what they say, not in how they dress, but in how quickly they fold when challenged, when ignored, when pushed. And you see this especially in relationships. She gets moody, you chase to fix it. She withdraws affection, you overcompensate with gifts or words. She criticizes, you try to convince her you're good enough. But all she sees is a man who's emotionally unstable, and that instability makes her feel unsafe. And safety is not about comfort, it's about strength. Because what really makes a woman stay is not just how much she feels loved, it's how much she feels secure in your ability to lead, to guide, to remain composed no matter what emotional storm is playing out around you. And this is where calm power becomes your ultimate tool. Because when you can look her in the eyes as she's throwing emotional fire, and not flinch, not explode, not beg, not defend, but just hold your frame, listen deeply, speak clearly, and walk away if needed without fear, you instantly set yourself apart from 95% of men. And now she sees something she can't manipulate, something she can't control, something she wants to surrender to. And it's important to understand that surrender is not weakness in a woman. It's her deepest craving. to be able to relax her nervous system around a man who doesn't get pulled into her emotional waves. And that means you must become her grounding point, not her mirror. And the way to build this practically is to master three things: your breath, your boundaries, and your belief. Your breath controls your mind, and every time she raises her voice or gets distant or throws tests your way, you train yourself to breathe deeper instead of react quicker, because slow breath means calm presence, and calm presence makes you feel unshakable even when you're shaking inside. And your boundaries are how you show her that you lead your life, not her approval. So when she crosses a line, emotionally, physically, sexually, or psychologically, you don't scold her, you don't negotiate, you state your boundary once, clearly, and enforce it with behavior, not words, like ending a conversation, walking out of a disrespectful argument, or going silent after repeated emotional disrespect. Not to punish, but to reset the dynamic. And the belief, your belief, must be rooted in the truth that you are enough as you are, and any woman who can't feel that will try to test it. And those tests are your opportunity, not your threat. Because every emotional test she throws at you is not really about hurting you. It's about finding out if you're real, if you're solid, if you're a man she can emotionally trust without words. And the more stoic you are in your core, not distant, but present and unshakable, the more she finds herself returning to you even after she says she's done. And that's because she feels a gravitational pull to a man who doesn't need her but still chooses her. And that choice only has value when it comes from a place of strength, not scarcity. So if you want to cultivate this power, start where most men never look: in your mind, in your habits, in your silence, in your ability to respond instead of react. And that means stop explaining yourself. Stop texting paragraphs when she pulls away. Stop trying to fix her mood. Stop trying to control her reactions. And instead control yours. Because every time you react with panic, you give away your power. And every time you respond with calm certainty, you take it back. And when she tries to provoke you, raise her tone or weaponize emotions, and you don't collapse. You don't argue. You don't match her chaos. But you stay in your energy, with steady eye contact, with clear silence, with simple grounded words like, "I'm not accepting that energy," or "Let's talk when this calms down," or "This is where I leave the room." You create emotional contrast that makes her feel like she's with a leader, not a follower, and leaders don't react to moods. They set emotional tone, and this makes you stand out more than looks, more than money, more than words, because your calmness becomes rare, and rare becomes valuable, and now your presence is a sanctuary, not a source of more drama. And every woman who's had to emotionally carry her past partners will feel that difference immediately. And once she does, she'll soften in ways she didn't think possible, because what lets her relax is not your compliments, not your romantic plans, but your power, the power that says, "I'm not here to win you over, I'm here to lead my life. And if you want to walk with me, walk. If not, I walk alone." And that walking alone, with peace, with strength, with silence, will echo louder than any speech you've ever made, and she'll feel it in her bones. And even if she resists it at first, tests it, runs from it, she will remember it, crave it. And if she's aligned, she will come back to it, because every woman's deepest need is to feel held emotionally without having to hold you first. And that only happens when you master yourself, when you are emotionally mature enough to give space when needed, to enforce limits without anger, to lead without needing to control, to listen without needing to be right, and to leave without needing to be begged to stay. And that kind of man doesn't need to raise his voice, raise his fists, or raise his status, because his calm power speaks for itself. And once you become that, you stop chasing love. You start attracting devotion. This isn't about tricks. It's not about lines. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about remembering the man you were born to be, calm, grounded, powerful, untouchable in your energy, unshaken by emotion, unapologetic in your presence. The kind of man women don't just want, they respect. The kind she doesn't walk away from easily. The kind who doesn't chase, doesn't fold, doesn't beg. He leads, he commands, he stands alone if needed. And because of that, he never stands alone for long. This message is not for every man. It's for the one who's tired of feeling confused, tired of playing games he didn't create, tired of being told to be less so he can be liked more. If you felt something in your gut reading this, if it stirred a fire in your chest, then you know this wasn't just words. It was your wake-up call. So now, you've got two options. Scroll on, forget what you just felt, or rise. Support the movement. Change your life, and help another man change his. Because when you support this channel, you're not feeding an algorithm, you're feeding a mission to awaken real masculinity in a world that's tried to suppress it, to bring truth back into the lives of men who are drowning in silence, to bring clarity, control, and power back where it belongs, in your hands. Subscribe. Share this. Comment below. I choose strength. Because the next man who sees your comment might need it more than you know.